Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Pharr's Homeric Greek, a book for beginners, with part 3 of lesson 14, wherein we'll talk about the phenomenon of Caesura and Diaeresis in the Dactylic Hexameter. So, to review the nature of the Dactylic Hexameter itself, the meter of the Homeric poems is the dactylic, sometimes called heroic hexameter, the most common of all Greek verse. There are 6 feet to the verse, the first 5 being either dactyls, that is, one long followed by 2 shorts, like your finger, one long followed by 2 short bones. Dactylos is the Greek word for finger. Or its equivalent, the sponde, that is 2 longs. A sponde is a drink offering, so like the priest at Mass, spreading the holy water, 1, 2, or pouring out 2 equally long. So there are 6 feet to the verse, the first 5 being either dactyls, that is 1 long followed by 2 shorts, da da da, or its equivalent, the sponde, that is 2 longs, da da, and the 6th foot, always a sponde. The dactylic hexameter has an ictus, a verse accent, which is always on the first syllable of each foot. And in each foot, one part is distinguished from the other by the slight stress of voice, and that is called the ictus, the beat. Okay? Now, whenever a word ends within a foot, inside of that foot, long, short, short, or long, long, it is called Caesura. If this coincides with a pause in the verse, it is called the Caesura of the verse. The Caesura is employed with great skill in the Homeric poems to make the verse more melodious and to aid it in its recital. There is almost always a Caesura in the 3rd foot. It occurs either after the first syllable of the foot or else between the 2 short syllables. The pause after the first syllable is called the masculine Caesura. That after the second is called the feminine. So Monro likewise describes it. Caesura, tome, the cut, occurs when the pause between 2 words falls within a foot, so as to cut it into 2 parts. The Caesura, which separates the arsis from the thesis is that first bit, so as to divide the foot equally, is called the strong or masculine Caesura. That which falls between the 2 short syllables of the thesis is called the weak or feminine or trochaic Caesura. The chief points to be observed regarding Caesura in the Homeric hexameter are as follows. There is nearly always a Caesura in the 3rd foot. Of the 2 Caesuras, the more frequent in this place is the trochaic, or weak, tolme kata triton trokaion, as in andromoi enepemusa, polutropon hos malapola. The strong Caesura, or Caesura after the 5th half foot, tome pentemimeres, is rather less common, as in menen aedatea peleiado Achilleos. In the first book of the Iliad, which contains 611 lines, the trochaic Caesura of the 3rd foot occurs 356 times, and the corresponding strong Caesura occurs 247 times. So, Diaeresis. Besides the recognized stops or pauses which mark the separation of sentences and clauses. There is, in general, a slight pause or break of the voice between successive words in the same clause, sufficient to affect the rhythm of the verse. Hence the rules regarding Diaeresis and Caesura. So let me read that sentence again, because it's kind of something to get your mind around. Besides the recognized stops or pauses that mark the separation of sentences and clauses, there is also, in general, a slight pause or break of the voice between successive words in the same clause, sufficient to affect the rhythm of the verse. Okay? So, by Diaeresis is meant the coincidence of the division of the words with the division into feet. Okay? So, Diaeresis is where the word division occurs at the division of a foot, whereas Caesura is when it occurs within the foot. The commonest place of Diaeresis in the hexameter is after the fourth foot. So we have He roon autuste eloria tiuke kunesen. This is called the bucolic Diaeresis. This long, short, short, long, long. Tiuke kunesen. So we see He roon autuste eloria tiuke kunesen. We see that there's the break of the Caesura after de, but the break of the Diaeresis after eloria. And so this heroon is dependent on the ipthimus sukas, the strong souls, heroon, of heroes. And then we have the sense pause between the clause, but then we have autus de eloria tiuke kunesen. So the pause of this verse, the double pause of the Caesura after de and the Diaeresis before tiuke, isolates the predicate eloria, and these it made, pray for the birds, fodder for the birds. Heroon autus de eloria tiuke kunesen. So it's very subtle, the pauses that are dictated by the Homeric meter. And this is why, of course, you have the great contests of rhapsodes that would be staged with poets, students of Homer, competing in their recitation of parts of the poem. There was a lot at stake, and there was a lot of different levels of the artistry. You can consult Plato's famous dialogue. Why am I blanking on what it's called? I am blanking on the name of the dialogue where Homer where Socrates confronts the rhapsode and asks him about Homer. But you know what I'm talking about. Okay. On the other hand, there must be no Diaeresis after the third foot. And in the few cases in which the third foot lies wholly in the one word, and in the few cases in which the third foot lies wholly in one word, there is always a strong Caesura in the fourth foot. So this is the tome ep he mi meres. Hos kete ois epete detai malate clu on autu. Whoever heeds the gods, they very much so hear him. The gods will listen to you if you pay attention to them. Hos kete ois epete detai malate clu on autu. And in the second example, He re tede poseidaon kai palasatene. So here we have examples where, because the third foot lies entirely between one word, you can have that break. Okay. So it is also common to find a diaeresis with a slight pause after the first foot. Thus we see it in the recurring phrases hos pato, so he said, hos epat, likewise, hos hoge, altar ho, but he, and forms of address such as take known, child, daimonio, how do you translate that? Who knows? Hopiloi and hopopoi. So after these, you will have a diaeresis after the first foot, after these certain expressions. Hence the occasional hiatus in this place, because there is a pause inserted there. Okay. Here from Iliad 2, we have hoi da gorende, autis epeseu onto, neon apokaiklision, eke, hos hotakuma poluplois boiotala ses. Hoi da gorende, and they, toward the meeting place, autis epeseuonto, again they rushed towards, neon apokaiklision, away from the ships and huts, heke, with a great noise, hos hotekuma, as when the wave, poluplois boiotalases, as the waves of the much-sounding sea. Hoi dagaren de autuis epesiu onto, neon apokai klisiaon, heke, hos hotokuma polu plois boiotalases. And then the other example, out from Iliad 1, line 333, altar ho egno he sin epiphrese bone sete. But he knew it in his mind, and he spoke, altar ho egno hasten epiphresen bone sente. So you have this pause after the haltar ho. But he knew in his mind, and he spoke. Okay, so Monro's treatment of the Caesura and the Diaeresis ends with this chart that explains how there are the best Caesura and the worst Caesura, the worst Diaeresis and the best Diaeresis. And it gives you some sense of the criterion, the aesthetic criterion by which you can judge whether, the degree to which the verse is well formed. So he says the results of these rules evidently is that there are two chief breaks or pauses in the verse, the Caesura in the third foot and the Diaeresis between the fourth and the fifth, and that the forbidden divisions are the Diaeresis and Caesura which lie nearest to these pauses. So thus, you won't see these worst cases. You will see the best. Okay. So again, Monro's description of the Homeric hexameter. The verse in which the Homeric poems are composed, the heroic hexameter, consists of 6 feet of equal length, each which again is divided into 2 equal parts, an accented part or arsis, on which the rhythmical beat or ictus falls, and an unaccented part or thesis. In each foot, the arsis consists of one long syllable, the thesis of one long or two short syllables, except the last thesis, which consists of one syllable, either long or short, but always marked as long because it's at the end of the verse. The fifth thesis nearly always consists of two short syllables, thus producing the characteristic da 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 da, da 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 da, which marks the end of each hexameter. And it's kind of cool once you get going to just go and visit these bucolic diaeresis at the end of each line. Da 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 da. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll conclude this lesson 14 very soon. Keep working hard. We are about to embark on the great adventure of Homer in the Greek. Be well.